the souls of his 2 little granddaughters. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Well, hi, everybody. To the attorneys, we have a special presentation. Can I start with that before reasonable opportunity to be heard, or?
Yes, Madam Chair. If no action is taken, yes, you may.
No, we're taking action. We're recognizing people, but but I guess it's not a vote. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. As we like to do, usually once a quarter, we try to recognize some of our transit riders who are also more officially known as CITT ambassadors. Our CITT ambassadors come from all over the county, and they are volunteers. They're also transit riders, and they share their experiences, the good and the bad, and provide feedback in real time to the CITT and to the department. So they're like our secret shoppers, which is how we're able to improve our service. So really appreciate them. And then, of course, they do get a few little awards for this work, but generally it's very, very well earned. So this morning I see the chair of our CITT, Robert Wilforth. Why don't you come on up and introduce us to this quarter's champions, and also Javier Betancourt. And then we'll all probably go down to the well to take a photo as well with Theo.
Yes, good morning, Chair Higgins, and good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Transportation Committee members. We're here today to celebrate and congratulate Theo Caransalis. We recognize Theo Caransalis as our CITT ambassador for the first quarter of 2025, and in honor of your outstanding service, we're happy to present you with a beautifully engraved plaque that demonstrates your exceptional dedication. The plaque that you receive, you will also get 5,000 points on your app. And our records show that during the first quarter of 2025, you've completed feedback surveys on your transit rides, earning an impressive 39,150 points. And so this remarkable achievement makes you our top performer for the first quarter. And so thank you, Theo, for your unwavering service. And before we take a picture, I think I'd just like to mention to our transportation riding public that if you are interested in becoming a CITT ambassador and serve like Theo has been serving since 2023, please visit our website at miamidade.gov/CITT. You can learn about the program, you can apply for an application, or you can contact our program coordinator, Cheryl Mitzel. Thank you all very much. Theo, would you like to say a couple words?
Yeah, please.
Take a picture.
And then to the clerk, would you show Commissioner Bastian is here as well?
Thank you. Thank you to the county's transit board, the CITT team, and especially Javier and Cheryl for your leadership on the People's Transportation Plan and the Ambassador Program. As a district leader for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, a peer advisory board member of the Schizophrenia and Psychosis Action Alliance, a presenter for NAMI Miami, and vice chair of the county's Commission on Disability Issues, I want to speak to the importance of this program and the impact it has on those of us living with serious physical and mental health challenges. Your program gives our disabled community a voice, and you've shown that we belong, and that together through service we can affect change. True wealth is measured not by what we have, but by what we give, and lives become brighter when they are lived with meaning. And what better gift to bestow than that of serving your neighbor?
Thank you, Theo, very much. We really appreciate your dedication and your service, and I really just once again want to thank Chair Higgins and the committee for their unwavering support. And also really want to thank our Department of Transportation and Public Works for their partnership in making this a model, really, for the country. And so, Director Miller, thank you very, very much. Yeah, okay, great. Sure. Good morning.
Buenos días.
Buenos dias.
Sir, come on with them. You want a good phone? We're right here. I'm sorry, excuse me, sir. Can you move over just one, please? Get in the middle. Yes, sir. Scoot over just a tad. Just a tad. All right, perfect. Let's squeeze.
let's see. We still, who are we missing? All right, everybody's in here somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but I think, is that Commissioner Regalado? Les, release the commissioner to come back up here. Who else am I missing? Okay, all right. Okay, to the clerk, what is next for us?
Madam Chair, at this time, it would be appropriate to open the reasonable opportunity for all non-public hearing items.
Okie dokie. Renata, I saw you. Where were you? Did you want to speak on something?
Susan is filling up a card. If you would like to call her, she can call you. She's filling up a card.
Okay. I think we're behind on cards, but they'll eventually make their way up. But I do know the Sunny Isle Beach Deputy City Manager, Susan Simpson, is here, so we'll get your card at the end. So you have 2 minutes, please. Go ahead. Thank you.
So first, I'd just like to thank Commissioner Steinberg for bringing this item to your attention. I would greatly like to thank the Miami-Dade County team, Miguel and Yamalat, who worked with our city on this interlocal agreement and are being very helpful. They educated us on the process. It is based a lot on data, which we completely understand and appreciate. Our city would just like to express that they look at it, at the very local level and are seeing speed limit as it relates to, our streets, our interior streets may be different. We are an extremely urban community. A lot of walkers, scooters, bike riders, sometimes on streets that have no sidewalks, parallel parking, other issues that they would like to see taken into consideration, more than just the data when it comes to determining speed limit. Okay.
Whoops. Thank you. Will you stay around in case we have questions when Commissioner Steinberg brings her discussion items up, or are you heading back to Sunny Isles immediately?
Nope, I can.
Okay, great. We'll be quick. We'll be quick. All right, colleagues. I have everybody else that signed up. I only have 2 cards there for the public hearing items. So I'm going to close reasonable opportunity to be heard because I have no cards on anything else. Okay, colleagues, other than, but she wrote 1G1 though. Okay, well, you want to speak now, Renee? Okay, yeah, come on down. Okay, we just have the wrong card. No problem, no problem. Good morning, Ms. Holmes.
Good
Good
morning,
to see
Madam
you. It's
Chair
been a long
and
time.
all.
Name and address for the record, if you don't mind.
Madam Renita Holmes, Executive Director, Wave of Women in Our Homes, address 5990, and because of my status as a witness, I cannot give the complete, but you can check with I'm registered with the clerk's office. I'm glad to be here, and I think some things are just meant to happen regardless. They may not seem on time, but they're right at the right time. I'm a senior person with disability, and I'm late this morning because my transportation was not on point. I'm very concerned, and it's personal for me to come and talk about the status of persons with disability in Miami-Dade County, period, housing and transportation. But when I find that we're doing affordable housing and adapting, and we're being innovative, but I'm finding that we're doing transportation housing, but we're not upgrading the transportation. I'll give you a story that could relate more than anything, is to ride with a young man and with heart disease, and to be told that I could not stop for the rescue. The driver would not stop for the rescue because he had to be on time. That was distasteful. That was disheartening, and it was alarming. When it comes to the status of persons with disability and transportation, the current contract is obsolete when it comes to our civil rights. And if that was to bring other people with me to tell the story, I just can't afford the transportation. I'd like to know why. I don't know why this RFP has been canceled, but it holds our civil rights, it holds our accommodation, it holds our access, and it holds some solutions to situations that can almost kill me, and that almost killed me and a few others. Just on a day-to-day basis, to hear the stories of the gap in services. 3 hours when you're incontinent is very hard in this type of temperature. The climate is not kind to those of us. So we need to take a look at why we did this. And if we don't have access to reasons why we're canceling the answers, then we need to have accountability to those who don't do it. Now, currently, if we looked at the status of the services that are being provided and those conversations that we're having as ADAPT advocates, then you will find that we have not done very much in several years. We owe it to ourselves, and we would appreciate that you would accommodate us and give us our civil rights and tell us why this RFP has been canceled.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you so kindly.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Appreciate that. Okay, the beeping's going to stop. Good. To the department, we did receive a public comment that came in through the clerk's office on the same topic, trying to understand why the RFP was canceled. Matter of fact, I would like to understand it. That is not on the agenda today, but you should expect that there will be a discussion item on the next committee meeting about this. I would rather not have a discussion item about it. I'd rather have the RFP out. So anyway, I'm going to pass this comment to Philip, if you don't mind, after the meeting. And then if someone from the department could just also get back to Mr. Gonzalez on his comment as well. Okay, reasonable opportunity to be heard is closed. We will take up our discussion items. Commissioner Steinberg, we'll start with, oh wait, we didn't set the agenda. Okay, I see, I should become an attorney. I know, I can mind read when they're about to tell me I'm doing the wrong thing. All right, Madam Attorney, what's next?
Yes, Madam Chair. There are a few changes to your final printed agenda. The addition of 1G1 supplement the fiscal impact for the ordinance relating to the transit system development zone, rapid transit system development zone, I should say, and 1G1 supplement number 2, which is a social equity statement regarding the same ordinance. There's also the addition of 1G1 substitute, the ordinance relating to the rapid transit system development zone, and the addition of 3B substitute, a resolution approving the terms of a First Amendment to an interlocal with the Greater Miami Expressway Agency. I've also been told that Commissioner Regalado would like to assume sponsorship of items 3L and 3M. With that, a motion to set the agenda is in order.
So moved.
All right, is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is now set. All right, colleagues, since Commissioner Steinberg has graced us with their presence as well as the Deputy City Manager from Sunny Isles, I'm going to turn it over to you. You had asked for a discussion regarding interior residential speed limits be added to our agenda. Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to bring to the attention this policy discussion about areas in our county. We're not a one-size-fits-all county, and we talk about that all the time. And there are different areas in our county that have different needs. And one of the things that keeps coming up as a recurring topic is, in some cases, we have areas in my district, for example, where the speed limit was adjusted 10, 20 years ago as the demographics change and it's become more urbanized. And you have areas where you have you used to have 20 mile per hour speed limits. How they were there prior to all of us being here, who knows? But they're there. Now the county is coming in and saying, listen, 25 miles is what we're willing to do. And so there's this big conversation back and forth about how do we get to that guideline? What are we using as a guideline? And are we looking at it as a case by case or holistic? At the end of the day, I think that when you're looking at an interior residential road, not a collector road, not a main artery, an area where it's just truly for a community to be able near a school or near just an urbanized town center, there are instances in which the 20 mile per hour threshold, I think, is more appropriate. And the residents obviously feel that as well. And so I wanted to just bring this up here to make the discussion finally at this level, at the policymaker level. And, you know, DTPW has a lot of guidelines and they work really hard and they do a lot of really great things. But as the manager from Sunny Isles Beach pointed out, the data that they use to collect, you know, checking the box if you measure a certain way, maybe we need to look at how we're looking at that today. The standards that we used to use for these speed limit guidelines back in, well, let's say 20 years ago, it's not the same as today. 5 years ago may not be the same as today. And so I wanted to look towards a healthy policy discussion and maybe find the framework of what we can do so that in some instances, we may want to lower that speed limit and give us that flexibility.
So, Commissioner, or I know somebody out in DWW land will remember.
Kevin brought an item.
Well, and I brought an item way before Kevin.
Right, there's been several
Because
items.
we've done a lot of interlocals, including for me on the city of Miami. I gave them permission. Before it was even worse. Like they couldn't even lower it to 25 miles an hour without our permission. So now the interlocals at least allow the city on these internal roads to go to 25 miles an hour. I personally think if you're not affecting an arterial road and you're not on whatever within, half a block of that arterial road, the municipality should set whatever speed limit they want, as long as they're the enforcement agency. And whether it's 15 or 20, I couldn't care less. The world has changed. We've moved from every time there's a traffic engineer, if you graduated as a traffic engineer 25 years ago, your only job was to move cars, right? Well, the world has changed. And we know that cars, like when you're in a car, you've got thousands of pounds of stuff around you to keep you alive. When you're in a pair of sneakers, well, I don't know, you have like 4 ounces of stuff around you that keep you alive. So I personally think we should, you're not on this committee, but I think we should direct the administration to change our policy to allow municipalities to go to 20 miles on interior roads and allow them to do it without county permission on city roads. Yeah, Commissioner Regalado.
So I have a few ideas. And I live in the city of Miami.
Yeah.
By a school in the rapid transit zone, right? And my street is a cut-through street, and my neighbors complain about this all the time. I think this is an opportunity to solve a series of problems. Because first you have the issue of the speed limit. And I think when you look at the Green Book and when you look at the rules, you see the speed limit, to Commissioner Higgins's point, like in a vacuum. However, with different applications like Google Maps and Waze and all these things, which are forcing people to cut through neighborhoods, they take into account the speed limit, right? So, and I have mentioned this to people, and they're like, "What do you mean?" Well, because they're there to move you faster. So if you want to eliminate cut through in certain neighborhoods, what you would do is reduce the speed limit, because then it would take you through other roads because you couldn't get there faster. That's what the algorithm is trying to do. So my interest in it is more about kind of beating the technology at its game, right? The other part is, and I've spoken to my city, I represent 5 cities, I've spoken to all my city partners about this every time it comes up, because obviously they always want us to put traffic calming in every single street. And the problem with traffic calming in every single street is you end up creating just a mishmash of crazy, right? Because one street has it, one street doesn't, And by the way, those applications don't take into consideration that type of stuff. However, I think there may be an opportunity to better organize this situation and have the cities also look at the traffic calming that they're putting in, where they're putting it in. Because right now what we do is a series of neighbors request it, and depending on, how many petitions or what they do, we either grant it or not. I don't know about you guys, but my cities take forever. At least the city of Miami takes forever. They'll take a year to send me a request for traffic calming. Meanwhile, the residents are like, "You haven't put in my traffic calming." I'm like, "I haven't gotten it." I don't know what you're talking about. So there is a disconnect with certain cities in terms of the timing. But I think there's also an opportunity to say, look, on certain streets, we're gonna reduce, the speed. On other streets, we're going to put in traffic circles or speed bumps. But we're not going to reduce the street, put in a traffic circle and a speed bump, right? You understand my point? So there's, at some point, it starts getting a little nuts.
So here's my suggestion.
I think it's just you have to look at all of it, is my point.
Yeah, but all of that takes 7,000 years to work on, right? Because you just said the city of Miami can't even, like a resident calls for a speed bump and then it arrives here a year later. So here's my suggestion. My suggestion is we as a committee make a resolution today. I'm happy to make the motion that could come to the next board meeting for full board approval that will modify all interlocals to allow municipalities on interior municipal roads to move their speed limits to 20 miles per hour without county permission. That would be the motion I would make, and then you can work on the larger item, to balance that out. So
Well, I think
so that would be the motion I would want to make
Right.
today. So we can get something done rather than some huge study that takes 7,000 years to figure out.
Yeah,
And
no,
we
I
need to do that as well. But for now, this is ridiculous. Let's get the speed limits done. Yes.
Madam Chair, Jimmy Morales.
Yeah.
With respect to your motion, and I was just confirming, while we are happy to enter into local agreements with every city, and we encourage them, the majority of them don't have them.
All right. So then the county will just do this automatically. That will be the second part of my motion.
I just
Well,
wanna do
yeah,
that clear.
my-
But we
my
do
only-
want to encourage cities
I have the floor,
to do
Commissioner.
that. We do want to encourage cities to, because not only is it a speed issue, by virtue of entering into local with us, they get a lot of autonomy in terms of, with the exception of closing a street, of mitigation matters and, slowing down and things like that, and working with us. And so we have now worked through Miami, for example. But I just want to be clear that the interlocal agreement, because most of them don't have one, you need an additional vehicle. I just want to point that out.
Okay, so my motion would be that for cities without a municipality, they are allowed to go to 20 miles per hour without county permission on interior municipal roads, and that interlocals would be modified to allow municipalities to go to 20 miles an hour should they want to modify their interlocal. And nobody's forcing the cities to do this. They want people to go 90 miles an hour in their street, they can do that. Yes, Commissioner Bermudez.
Yeah, I just wanted to get clarification. I mean, I don't have necessarily a problem with at least moving it forward for discussion, but, so I understand your motion is for cities without interlocals or for?
It could be for I see zero reason on residential streets that some department that manages thousands of streets around the county, if a municipality is saying we need to slow down traffic on this street, they should be able to slow down traffic on that street, particularly if they're enforcing it.
Right, the enforcement part for me would be
Right.
important, number one, because I don't think we should be in the business of, it'll just be too agree,
Yeah.
And, I'm going to support it for now. I'm going to look into it a little bit more. I understand Commissioner Steinberg's concern and also the deputy city manager, right? So, and I do agree with Commissioner Regalado that sometimes we have to be careful because there is overkill, in one of the cities in her district, Coral Gables specifically, sometimes oversteps and it becomes real difficult to move people in and out. So, but I'll support it based on that at this.
Okay. So will you draft that for me? Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and I think we should encourage them to have interlocals. If I think it's important for them to have those relationships with the county, so that what the department, I could see Stacy stood up quickly. I'm fine with them having an interlocal in order to also affect this. I want to say that, but I appreciate where everybody's at, and I just want to not to throw in a wrinkle, and I really, really appreciate all this, and I thank you, Commissioner Higgins, for being such a leader in this area. But I also have, this is for the municipalities, I also have some areas in my district that are, believe it or not, I also represent some UMSA pockets
That's what I was going to say.
that have very residential, single-family areas. Some are special taxing districts, some are not, who are also complaining. And so I want to also be fair and try to find a way and a mechanism in those interior small areas in UMSA that they should have that same flexibility. But I leave it to this board to discuss.
Well, Commissioner Steinberg, here's what I'll suggest. I will work on the item. So it doesn't sound like we're fully prepared. I will draft an item to bring back on municipalities. I suggest, I don't represent any UMSA. So either would you want to do the UMSA one since your areas
and
are the most?
I would love to co-prime your item when it comes forward.
Oh, yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yes, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
We can just work with the attorneys on something so they can run parallel.
Okay, Jimmy, you've got, or Chief.
I just want to point out that the requirement for a study is actually a state law. So I think the policy can certainly be the direction to the department that we should approve, that we should be okay approving 20-mile-per-hour speed limits in internal city roads. But the city, or in our case, if it's UMSA, we still have to do a study under state law.
Yeah, we always have to comply with
Right.
state law.
Right.
But right now, we have two impediments. We have a state that's happy for people to run people over in their cars, and then we have a county that's slowing down change. So now we eliminate ourselves as a barrier, and we just have one
I
barrier.
just want to be clear that that doesn't still eliminate the state
Yeah.
requirement. Right.
Yeah, no, we got to always comply with the law. But this way, it becomes it's less arduous, particularly for our smaller cities, to do that. Yeah, Commissioner Bastian. Oh, and then Commissioner Bermudez.
It is a good idea, Commissioner, to give the administration some time to work with Commissioner Steinberg on this, because those of us who represent, UMSA areas, we also have issues that we'd like to bring forth. That would give us a chance to, I don't know if it's during a sunshine meeting, because I have some issues that I'd like to bring forth. So I agree with delaying this and giving the administration some time to work with Commissioner Steinberg and whatever. Then there are other issues that we might want to bring forth.
Okay, Commissioner Bermudez and then Commissioner Regalado.
Yeah, but, and I mean, this, I think we're all on the same page, but I'm looking at a resolution that was passed in April of last year sponsored by then Commissioner Cabrera, now Ambassador Cabrera, and it says, resolution directing the county mayor or county mayor's designee to conduct an investigation of the reasonableness and feasibility of lowering the speed limit to 25 miles per hour on all county-maintained residential roads in the UMSA area and on all county-maintained roads abutting parks and recreational centers in UMSA, and provide a report. I don't remember ever seeing that report. I don't know if somebody from the department can clarify that, or Jimmy or somebody. I don't know if any of you remember seeing that report, but that was something we approved as a board over a year ago.
Well, I don't see anybody jumping up, which probably means
So that means no.
yeah. When people are doing things, they hop up. Okay. Last comment, and then we're going to bring this to a close so we can get on to the rest of the agenda.
Thank you. And I think, Jimmy, I think there's a difference between 25 and 20. Is that right? In terms, is there a difference between 25 and 20? Because I don't remember you mentioning like a traffic study for 25 when we discussed the item with Cabrera.
Well,
Because you're saying that the state requires a traffic study.
the state requires apparently also one for 25, is my understanding. But let me add what?
Good morning.
Good morning, Stacy Miller, Director of DTPW, Chair. The study was completed. It's, I believe, with Cabrera's office.
Oh, so now Milian Orbis,
Correct, but it's sitting in that office.
waiting to come out. Okay, so is a traffic study needed for the county piece of it?
We completed that study to move to 25 holistically.
Okay,
We would need a traffic study to move to
20.
20.
okay. All right, yeah, something to consider. The only thing, like I said, I think at some point we should consider the existing infrastructure or lack thereof. So, for example, I have areas that don't have sidewalks. So that's, I would, so there's a few things like that I would say might be a good idea to look at, where people.
Okay, so as we've decided, I will work on the municipality piece. The UMSA piece, which is more complicated, I don't represent any UMSA. I will leave it to the two of you to decide who's gonna take the lead on that. Okay. Either way, I think to the department, you get it. We want residential streets to have the flexibility to be slower at the request of a municipality or at the request of a neighborhood and residents in UMSA. Okay, thank you.
Chair,
Yes,
I just have a question.
sure.
Maybe it's for the attorneys, or maybe one of you knows the answer. When we passed a resolution that was, for example, sponsored, I know Commissioner Orbis just got here, so that's over a year ago. And assuming we all vote for it, does this just go directly to the commissioner, or are we going to have access to this information? And that's maybe something the attorneys or the administration can answer, because it's a little disconcerting to have something that was done in April, and this is now July of the year subsequent to that. And Commissioner Orbis may not even know it's in her office. I don't even know if she does. But they have to review it. Okay. I mean, one of the things, moving forward, for me, well, okay, I'll propose something so we can actually, because if not, then I guess technically, I could, for example, have an item, keep reviewing it for 2 years, and you all may have an interest in seeing it, and we never see it. And by the way, I'm not saying that's what's happening. Commissioner Orbis just got here, so I'm sure she's reviewing a bunch of different things, but that's a little bit, it kind of defeats the purpose when we agree on some stuff from this dais and ask for a report.
All right. Okay,
Madam
so,
Chair, if I could.
Yes.
Because I think Commissioner Aragon's right. If a commissioner brings a directive like that, we usually try to bring a draft of the report to that commissioner to make sure we are addressing what they wanted addressed before we then bring it to the full commission. So I don't know the exact status of this report, but what I'm hearing, it may well be that in the transition from one commissioner to another, maybe, but we'll follow up.
thank you. Thank you, Chief. All right, thank you, Commissioner
Thank you, Madam Chair and
Steinbergs.
members.
All right, so it's always good to start a Transportation Committee with a safety discussion first. All right, we can move to our second discussion item, which is just quick updates on how we're doing with the Miami Freedom Park pedestrian bridge. I think everybody that's been going back and forth to the airport is seeing that the soccer stadium is well under construction, so we're very excited about that. But at this committee, we want to make sure that people can get off on Tri-Rail and Metro Rail and cross over safely. So, Josiel, are you leading the discussion? Or Stacy, Madam Director? We've had a couple, just colleagues, we've had a couple of meetings on this that I've convened. I went to visit the site, and it's complicated. It's county-owned property, it's airport-owned property, it's GMX-owned property, it's City of Miami-owned property. So it's not quite as straightforward. And we were fortunate enough to get $5 million out of the state budget to try to help construct this bridge. So can you give me a status on where we are on this? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Stacy Miller, DTPW. So we, as you are very well aware, have been working collaboratively with the developer, with the Florida Department of Transportation, with the City of Miami, and GMX to advance all of the necessary components of this particular project. I will say that our conversations related to the pedestrian bridge, and Chair, as you rightfully noted, there is an appropriation in this year's budget. The developer is working through a number of different items, including the location of the physical structure itself. There are right-of-way implications, there are permits for South Florida water management, et cetera. I would rather them speak to the logistics associated with that, but obviously we continue to work with all of our partners to ensure we are making progress so that we can use our MIC facility in order to bring users of the ultimate Miami Freedom Park to the location. So,
Okay.
Madam Chair, I got a number
Yeah.
of questions on this, and I applaud you for leading this, and maybe there's some answers. First of all, how much is this bridge going to cost? Does anybody know?
So, Mrs. Garmite, but theoretically, this bridge is supposed to be provided by the developer.
Okay, so that goes to my second point.
So, but
We would talk the other day about subsidies. This, to me, is a subsidy, and I get it. We want to bring people from Broward, maybe they should have put the stadium somewhere else, to be able to take Tri-Rail to go to these games for the Miami soccer team. But to me, if the developer doesn't do their part, and I'm presuming they did the best lobbying efforts they could. They have a pretty well-connected lobbyist up on their own team, so that's where they probably got the $5 million. But is the developer in on paying this? Because this would be a subsidy specifically for the owners of a parcel. And I'm not going to get into how it happened in Miami. I leave that to others, because it's going to be very difficult for just regular residents getting into that stadium. And I can almost guarantee you there's going to have to be some changes to be able to get people in from the western side of the stadium. So I'm just curious if this, to me, is a subsidy.
So That may very well be. I view it as a state allocation. They went and got it. And by the way, I know you were working on a project that you hope gets state allocation, and they are welcome to get it out of the state.
And I
as well.
applaud them for that. But
I applaud them for that. So, but what we have currently is a stadium that's under construction, well under construction, and you'll give us an update, but I think maybe we'll get to see a soccer game in it as soon as 2026. But DTPW has been looking at all the traffic analysis as part of the long-term plan of that. A pedestrian bridge must be part of the development. The developer needs to find the ways to fund it, but it is a cross-jurisdictional issue. You've got to go over a canal, you got to go over GMX property, you got City of Miami property, you got Miami-Dade County property. I'm forgetting FDOT. I'm forgetting some other. And then we have FP&L. So we have FP&L lines that need to be moved as well. So, Mrs. Carr, can you just give an update? I know you've been making some progress on that. Can you tell us how this is going? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Iris Escara with offices at 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to provide you with an update. This pedestrian bridge is very important not only to our project, but to City Administration Building and to a new City of Miami 58-acre park. So while the stadium is the catalyst, the stadium is the first to come in, and if we're not playing a game next year in March of 2026, I'm gonna have to put on a pink shirt and go out there and kick a ball, because that is our mandate to make sure that that stadium opens next year. The pedestrian bridge we've been working on, it's a multi-agency endeavor. Not only does it take the county for the MIC and the aviation, then crossing over a county road, then into GMX. GMX and FDOT are also at the table. We have some FPL lines to cross, then over South Florida Water Management District, and then landing on City of Miami property, which I'm happy to say we have an easement already there for the landing of the bridge. However, it's multiple agencies. So we've endeavored to connect with all the agencies. We've started asking the state for allocations for this bridge. We believe we have a master plan of it. The final design of it, so therefore the cost is not complete yet. We have a concept design of where it would go. We had a multi-agency meeting wherein that design was slightly changed as to location in coordination with GMX, because we're going to be almost flying over or bridging over technically their assets, so we had to go back and modify that. Our team is working on that proposed design to bring it back to this multi-agency table so we can all go looking at it as this advances forward. So definitely it's something that's critical for us. It's very important. We've worked on it on all different angles, finding money, getting the design, working with all the different agencies to collaborate on a final design, which will ultimately come likely before the county for the transit division for review and approval, as well as the other agencies. So that gives us an update. We're hopeful to get this design and at least a path forward set this year, finalize the numbers in with the cost of construction, and then come back with a complete plan.
Okay. When the last time we met together, you had basic design plans. When can I see the next set of plans, or when are you ready to present?
We have the revised plans based on, we had an original concept plan,
Correct.
we revised them. Probably in the next 2 weeks. We already, GMX had allowed us to go survey their land to get an actual location and so forth. That's been completed. The drawings, I believe are, as I checked yesterday, because I was coming to this meeting for a status, they should be given to us next week from the civil. So I would say like 2 weeks by the time the client reviews it. And then we'll have an updated revised plan based on our last meeting where we relocated it slightly.
Okay. So Ms. Scare, I think what I'll do is sometime towards the end of the summer, do what we did before, is, gather with DTPW and get an update. But we need to push this forward, and I appreciate Director Miller, because she is able to help us with some of these joint, she's worked with South Florida Water Management, District and all of these others as that. Okay. But obviously this is important to us. We have finally, for the first time in county history, bothered to build a stadium near transit, and so we need this bridge, because otherwise you're going to end up closing down 37th Avenue and 20th Street to get people from the train station over there, which is not ideal for traffic and anything, and it will impede your ability to, and we already have 2 structures under construction, so very different from the other project that we discussed, which is people that have not bothered to construct anything and are looking for subsidies. You all have done a wonderful job in getting this under construction. And then the city of Miami has done a wonderful job in also having its administration building under construction. So obviously the soccer stadium will be open in advance of this bridge, but it would be very nice that we do not end up with a huge traffic quagmire in what is a residential neighborhood right there in Grapeland by not having this bridge. So I appreciate all that you're working there. Any questions? I just wanted to get, yes.
Madam Chair, and I have it of Mrs. Cara. A subsidy is a subsidy is a subsidy. And I have a bad feeling of stadiums in the city of Miami. I never would have voted for, and I know the Marlins get mad, and I'm going to get a call from them, what occurred from here and the city of Miami for the old Orange Bowl site. And actually, if we would have wanted a baseball stadium in the proper place, it would have been near here. But that's another conversation. My concern, Mrs. Cara, is now and will continue to be, it's great that great deal from the city of Miami. You got a great soccer team, great group of people working on it. In fact, great owners. But my concern will always be how much is it going to cost us. So as we move forward and you meet with Commissioner Higgins, I just hope that, from my perspective, that's always going to be the question, because the definition of, and again, the stadium, the soccer team is privately owned. It's not owned by we, the people. The commercial area is privately owned. It's not owned by we, the people. Whether the city of Miami moves there or not, I leave that, maybe there'll be a future mayor there that'll move to finally get it done. So, but that'll be my concern moving forward.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Bermudez, and I hope that you'll allow us to tell our stadium story, which hopefully will be different from the previous stadium story, and you'll be proud of this endeavor at the end.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Guerra. We'll get,
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Appreciate the update, and I appreciate over the past couple of months that we've been meeting on this, progress has gone from basically nothing to a lot, and so I'm really pleased to see the engineering going ahead. And I want to thank our department as well, because I know they've been helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so meanwhile, on to the agenda. Colleagues, do you want to just do, Commissioner Regalati, you want to do your public hearing item? I only have one card.
Yes.
All right, 1G1 or 1G1 substitute, whatever we need to read, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. 1G1 substitute ordinance relating to the Rapid Transit System Development Zone, amending Chapter 33C of the Code of Miami-Dade County, Florida, providing for the expansion of the Rapid Transit Zone and creating the Coral Gables University Station subzone of the Rapid Transit Zone, which could, through future action of the board, encompass property a quarter-mile of the University Metro Rail Station, providing for county regulatory jurisdiction over properties added to the Coral Gables University Station subzone of the Rapid Transit Zone, providing for uses and creating standards, criteria, and procedures for approval of applications within Coral Gables University Station subzone, adding certain private property to the Coral Gables University Station subzone, making technical changes, directing the county mayor's designee to coordinate and negotiate with the city of Coral Gables as to future interlocal agreement, which could address additional concerns or considerations that may arise in the future, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. And this is a public hearing item.
All right, public hearing is open. I have only one card. Mr. Burko, name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Jeff Burkow, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. I'm here to speak in support of Agenda Item 1G1 substitute relating to the University Station Coral Gables Rapid Transit Subzone. This subzone is the next step in the growth of the county's rapid transit zone. It assures that the properties within the subzone will be developed to an intensity or density consistent with the county's comprehensive plan and RTZ policies. And that development resulting from this subzone will generate new riders and additional trips on the county's rapid transit zone system, and also generate incremental tax dollars that can be used as a local match for state and federal funding of rapid transit projects. Our team has been working with the District Commissioner's Office and your professional staff on this ordinance for quite some time, and we urge you to recommend in favor of item 1G1 substitute. Brian Boyles from Landmark is here, and he can answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burka. Commissioner Regalado, it's your item. Would you like to move it or introduce it?
Thank you. Jeff mentioned some of it. We've been working very hard on it. This is the first property in Coral Gables. If you read the item, it actually has some differences to other RTZ items, and we've been working with the city of Coral
Oh,
Gables.
whoops, I forgot to close the public hearing. I'm getting, see, ESP from the attorneys. It's working. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I think it's a good opportunity. It has a lot of components where we get to have input from the city of Coral Gables. I actually went before the city of Coral Gables on several occasions, and I've been meeting with them individually on this, and they also have representation here. So we're doing our best to come up with something that is thoughtful and respectful of what Coral Gables wants, and at the same time ensuring that we are maximizing the rapid transit zone. And as many of you know, this area is changing, and this is one of those 1970s parking lots that we know need to be redeveloped. So there is a lot in terms of infrastructure in here, specifically pedestrian and cyclist one, which I think really fits the area and its proximity across from the University of Miami. And also important about this site, since we were talking about pedestrian bridges, is this is a site that is directly adjacent to the University of Miami pedestrian bridge. So I would appreciate your support.
Second.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Bermudez. Any questions? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bastian? Yes. Commissioner Bermudez?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Regalado?
Yes.
Chairwoman Higgins?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, outstanding. All right, colleagues, we're on to the rest of the agenda. Anybody want to bifurcate anything or have questions on anything? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the entire agenda. Oh, Commissioner Bastian. Okay, the agenda is moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, show the agenda done. All right, everybody.
I just have one question.
Yes, go ahead.
What are decorative lights?
What are decorative lights?
The item was fascinating. I know that we're there.
Tiffany glass.
Right. Well, no, I mean, no. Seriously, I represent South Miami. I'm going to get so many questions about decorative lights. I wish it had like an appendix where they could show me what these decorative lights are. Like, are they strobe lights? Is there a disco ball involved? Is it going to be like reflecting on the ground? Inquiring minds are dying to know what decorative lights in Miami Lakes will look like. So if I can get some info from staff later, that would be great. Okay. Thank you.
And then we can have a slideshow at the full board meeting.
Fun.
All right, I'll hear a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Day night totals $115.1 billion and includes $1.3 billion in tax cuts. The governor, House Speaker, and Senate President all had priorities that did not make it into the final product.
We were able to have civil discourse. We were able to have a difference of opinion. We were able to reach a conclusion that maybe either the Senate or the governor didn't agree with. That was our goal. Our goal was to be a co-equal branch of government, to have an opinion that matters, an opinion that's valued. I do believe now more than ever that the House's opinion matters.